Hello. So I'm back. It looks like I'm, wearing something different. I'm in a different place. Hopefully the video and audio quality are much better. So I did that first video this morning on my phone and I'm back because I had my caffeine and I remembered I forgot to tell you one of the cool jokes about established titles. The name established titles is the giveaway to how funny this is and how it's not a scam. If again, you have a clue. So established titles is definitely a deliberate call out to the establishment, as in the titles the establishment have. In British culture, the establishment is a very, very commonly used term, and much more so than in American culture. And it also is connected to like titled people in the old House of Lords and stuff like that we don't have in our culture. So establishment has a connotation to it. So when they say established titles, like, yeah, you too can be in the House of Lords. It is a joke that's done with a wink. If you thought, you could buy for a couple $100s on the internet a seat in the House of Lords, which by the way is no longer exclusive to the peerage anyway. But if you thought you could buy that on the internet, you're an idiot. The joke of it is you too can be part of the establishment, ha ha. But actually you're reforesting Scotland. This would be, I think, really obvious to the ear of any person in the UK and in general in Europe, where there's kind of similar things. By extension, you would get it. And I'm going to try to explain this with an analogy of where, the English language is the America and Britain, same language divided by an ocean, whatever. That's not how the joke goes, the saying. But anyway, the problem here I'm going to illustrate with another anecdote from the internet from many years ago. There was some British actor, I can't remember which one, who made some public comment that was positive about people who live on estates. And that actor got excoriated on the kind of I think it was at the time, was it before TikTok? I forget what was like where the youth culture was doing their social media at the time. I sound so old. But anyway, on those kinds of circles, everyone got all up in arms saying he was some kind of elite, aristocratic. Oh, I know. It was Benedict Cumberbatch, because that explains it, doesn't it? He's got that kind of air, and he often plays historical figures who are kind of upper class and all of that, even though he's from an actor's family, I believe. But anyway, he said something about positive about people who live on estates, and the American youth internet got all up in arms, thinking he was like defending rich people, presumably at the expense of the poor. He was talking about council estates, not landed estates. This is the thing about British vocabulary. It's like how they call public schools private and private are public. I mean, they just use weird words for things, okay? At least that's how it feels to us Americans. Sorry, British. But so there's council estates, which is public housing. In America, we call that public housing. It's where poor people get government subsidized housing. That is literally the exact opposite of a landed estate, which is large amounts of inherited, entailed property that go from one oldest son to the other and often come with a title. So he was actually talking positively about the poor people who live in public housing, and the American internet attacked him for defending the elite. It's the exact opposite of what he's doing, and it was based on a misunderstanding of British terms. And mostly this is just kind of funny, and again, I think it's actually very admirable, or not necessarily admirable because it's not something we do, but it's something to celebrate about American culture, that we are so oblivious to this stuff. That's great. I'm glad I can live in a place where I don't have to give a shit about all of this inherited, it's all based on the idea that bloodlines give you actual superiority, which we should be so over. For at least a couple centuries now, century and a half, we should be really, really over that. And that it's still taken even remotely seriously as a problem. But the thing is, Americans kind of keep propping it up with our love of shows like, Downton Abbey or whatever, which I admit I watch for the dresses. But our kind of admiration for this romanticized version of the old Europe it gives us these very false sense of what these things actually mean, which, we don't need to know what they mean. It's not important. But if you're going to go buy a novelty gift, that is a title. Don't think you're getting a real title. I mean, that's just too stupid for words. And if you're going to go on this is the important part, the serious part. If you're going to go on an internet campaign excoriating a company as a scam or going after an actual person, check first, do your due diligence to make sure you're not actually the one who's wrong. Because, sometimes the internet is the only way to expose real evildoers. But generally speaking, those evildoers who get away with things, who can only be exposed on the internet, are people who have so much power, they're able to cover up whatever nasty things they're doing, right? Um, an individual company, an individual actor, they don't usually have a whole machine in place. And maybe if you hear something that sounds really wrong, just stop and check, maybe do more than one or two Google searches to see if you really know what you're talking about, especially if it's a matter of British traditional terms, which Americans just don't get. You should take it for granted. We don't tend to get that kind of language, and maybe it's worth looking up before you go and attack people on the internet. And then it goes viral, and everybody wants to join the attack because everyone feels good being on the morally superior side, because you've been told something you thought sounded okay, or that you even like trusted or even put your money into. Oh my God, suddenly it's bad. So to feel good about yourself again, you have to get on the bandwagon of how bad that is. Or to get clicks or views, you have to give in to all of that because that's where the internet's mood is at the moment. That's why we can't have nice things. Is this it's very human behavior, but it's terrible, terrible behavior. So let's not do it, okay? It's so sad. So anyway, go get your fake title if you feel like it, or just don't even bother. You can plant a tree somewhere closer to home if that makes you feel better. I think Scotland could use trees, but whatever. Plant a tree anywhere, call yourself whatever you want, and get off this particular bandwagon. Okay, guys, bye.